The Pittsburgh Steelers get a big win in a way where they hit the Ravens where they weren't looking, and they give themselves some hope for the AFC North in the playoffs this season. We'll break it all down here on this Victory Monday episode of the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Steelers, your daily Pittsburgh Steelers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, bringing you your daily dose of all things in the Pittsburgh Steelers. As always, you can find the show on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of your daily Monday through Friday episodes, as well as our bonus content. We thank you for making us your first listen every day because we're your team every day. And a reminder, the Locked On Steelers podcast is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is the #1 sports podcasting network in the world. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Be sure to go to FanDuel.com to place all your live bets today. We'll have more on them later. As you can see, if you're watching on YouTube, you're missing it if you're listening on our audio platform, but I'm wearing the bag of shame because I, Chris Carter, picked against the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game where they won, and they won in convincing fashion. A bet I once made with a fan. I now took this off because Steelers fans, it is a victory Monday for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They walked into Baltimore and beat them in their house 27-22 with big plays and big contributions from several people across the board. It is a huge win for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They advance to 7-6, reclaim first place in the division, bumping the Ravens down to 6-7. And with the Bengals losing, they're in an interesting spot in the AFC North the rest of the way. But we'll get to the division outlook later. We got to talk about this win, and where I have to say, Aaron Rodgers can tell me to shut the heck up in the next press conference. I kind of feel bad that I wasn't there in Baltimore to be able to give him the opportunity to tell me to shut the heck up, because I was on Aaron this week. I've been on Aaron in recent weeks about the deep passing game, why it wasn't there, what's not working, and he's been very patient. And you guys have seen he's kind of giving me some like, tough back and forths here and there, pushing back on my questions, and that's what he's supposed to do, man. He's an athlete. And as a reporter, I'm trying to, learn more. I'm trying to see more. I'm trying to, say, hey, what about this? What about that? I'm trying to ask the harder questions. And man, did he deliver in this one. Aaron Rodgers, 23 of 34 for 284 passing yards, a touchdown pass, a rushing touchdown, 103.1 passer rating. He was every bit of Aaron Rodgers in this game, the smart Aaron Rodgers that took what was there. And what was there, sometimes taking what was there isn't the check down. Sometimes taking what's there is getting the ball deep, and that's where the Ravens went. And I wrote about this for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Go read this. It's my latest Carter's Critiques column. It should be up. It should be like on their front of their sports page right now if you're watching or listening to this early Monday. But I really believe the Ravens came into this game with the same sort of game plan style that they did the last two times they played the Steelers. If you remember, when we talked about this last week, Zach Orr, the Ravens defensive coordinator, was on Hard Knocks last year talking about Russell Wilson, saying, hey man, he's 3-pointers and he's layups. He can't hit the intermediate. So let's make a game plan. Don't worry about the intermediate. Take away these things. And then we have a game plan. It is without a doubt in my mind, the Ravens sat similarly this year and said, look, guys, They are one of the best short passing offenses in the NFL. By the way, they are. I looked this up on Sports Information Systems. They had, coming into this week, 6.2 net yards per attempt, an adjusted net yards per attempt. That's per Sports Information System. That's a formula that they have that kind of like judges like touchdowns, sacks, turnovers, along with yards per attempt. And on passes that traveled 10 yards or less, the Steelers are the most efficient offense at moving the ball in those instances. And so the Ravens undoubtedly came up with a game plan that said, hey, we're going to take that away. We're going to take the run away, and we're going to challenge. We're going to say, hey, you know what? Like last year, we didn't think they could hit the intermediate pass. We're going to say this year they can't hit the deep ball because they hadn't done it for 4 straight games. And the very first play of the game, 52-yard bomb to DK Metcalf. Things break wide open. Aaron Rodgers hit 4 deep balls in this game. I have to go back and I have to look at the charts because I'm doing this literally Sunday early evening after the game. We've done our Locked On Steelers squad show. I've done a bunch of different things. So I haven't had a chance to like comb through the film and calculate exactly or look at charts yet. But I'd be very curious to see Aaron Rodgers his deep passing numbers and like what, how they played into this game and the efficiency of how he hit it in this game. Because when he hit it against the Ravens, I think it truly shocked the Ravens defense, and not just shocked in the, oh my gosh, they're doing it, but in a way that's like, crap, we made a whole game plan this week thinking we're going to take away all the underneath stuff in the run game, and now they're hitting us back here, and they've hit us with it more than once and now more than twice. We've got to adjust and take things and work on other things. And in doing so, I think that led to miscommunication, problems that they faced, and then the Steelers were able to get a lot more from their short passing game, like Jaylen Warren's basically walk-in 38-yard touchdown, which was just so bizarre. But I truly think it was because the Ravens were so focused on trying to take away quick passes and reads here and reads there, and it led to it led to them giving up the deep ball. And so when they had to account for the deep ball while also still trying to put in the checks that they had against the short passing game and the run game, I think that led to some mix-ups there. It also opened up the short passing game itself just to succeed. Kenneth Gainwell with a big third down conversion in the short passing game, and then some of the short passes that set them up to convert third down. The Darnell Washington completion where he got injured, but it was an important play to erase a long down and distance and led to the Steelers eventually converting on that next third down. I thought that was a big part of what happened in this game. And it was absolutely necessary because the Ravens clearly came out with a plan to stuff the Steelers' run. Nothing that the Steelers tried worked in the run game. Jaylen Warren, 8 carries for 13 yards. We got to have a talk about that because that is not good. And that's not just on the O-line. I think there's some stuff going on there. Kenneth Gainwell, 4 carries, 15 yards. Basically he averaged 3.8 yards per carry. So no run game, but Aaron Rodgers gets it done through the air. And DK Metcalf, what a game from that guy. And I think a big way he stepped up. But I also think part of it comes to, if you are the Steelers and you're looking at this, something Aaron Rodgers said before this on Wednesday, and I think we played the clip here. I should have uploaded it for this game, but I don't want to replay old stuff. But Aaron Rodgers brought this up when I was asking about it, and he was basically saying, like, hey, when it comes to the deep ball, we need our receivers to run better routes. We need to get better releases. We need to have better timing and understand, like, the spacing and things. Arthur Smith brought up the same thing. And so what did they do to work with that to make that a factor this week? Rowan Wilson gets a healthy scratch. Not a good sign for him. But Adam Thielen, been here since Tuesday, he starts in the game. Marquez Valdes-Scantling gets promoted from the practice squad. And it's those two with DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin. And even though those two older vets that have been brought to the team really didn't do anything statistically, I think that their presence on the field, also Ben Skoranek being part of this is too. I don't want to minimize him. He made a big third down catch. Was it third down catch, but big first down conversion for 13 yards. But I think it is important to know, I think these guys ran their routes the ways that Aaron Rodgers has been looking for, that's allowed him to set up what he's trying to set up cerebrally downfield. Now, I can't prove all that yet because I don't have the all-22, and I watched it at home like you guys, so saw the broadcast angle. So I'll need to see that. But just the feel that I got when I was watching how the Ravens were reacting and trying to call things out on defense, I think this game plan was smart. I think it was a big gamble on if they could hit it, because here's the other thing about this, guys, is that, like, the Steelers could have made this plan, and if Aaron Rodgers just misses on those deep balls to DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin, they lose this game, and it's over. But they got aggressive. They bet on him, and the thing that he hadn't been doing, that really neither him nor Mason Rudolph had been doing, was hitting those deep balls, and they did in this game. And now if you're the Steelers, you've opened up something for your offense. You've put yourself in a position where people do need to fear DK Metcalf. He was still getting double teamed in this game, but they found ways to loosen it up, and they found ways to take advantage of those double teams. I think if the Steelers, they don't have to hit on it 4 or 5 times a game like they did in this one, but if they can just show each game that threat is there, it will open up the other things and allow them to play that balanced style of offense that they were designed to play, so that no weight is too heavy on one specific player. And that's what I think this offense was always supposed to be. We got to talk about the defense, though. They didn't have their best day, but they also didn't have their worst day. I don't think they really have a bad day. I think the Ravens came to play, but they showed the fight that this team needs if they're actually going to win this division. And it's a sign that this team is not giving up. They're not stale. They're not falling apart. They're locked in more than people realized. I'll talk about that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is also brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are officially here, which means gift hunting season is on. And if you want something meaningful, personal, and guaranteed to get a reaction, Aura Frames is the gift that delivers every time. It's not just something you wrap, it's a way to share memories, because Aura isn't just your average picture frame. You can preload the frame with photos before gifting it. So when they plug it in, the memories are already there. No apps to figure out, no setup headaches, just instant smiles. Grandparents, parents, newlyweds, anyone who loves photos, endless photos of pictures, and 30-second videos are available to be put up there through the Aura app. Packaging comes gift ready, no price tag, no wrapping needed. Huge win. Just for a limited time, you can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, which named #1 by Wirecutter. So be sure to use that promo code LOCKEDON locked on at checkout. That's Aura Frames, AURA frames.com. Promo code locked on, all capital letters, all one word, LOCKEDON. This deal is exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast, so order yours now and get it in time for the holidays. Support the show by mentioning us in your checkout. Terms and conditions apply. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. Chris Carter here, continuing our episode, our Victory Monday episode here after the Steelers defeat the Baltimore Ravens, and we'll get a better look at the AFC North here in a bit. But we got to talk about this defense, and it wasn't a spectacular showing, no. But this was a game. The reason I picked the Steelers to lose and why I had to wear the bag of shame to start this was because I didn't think that they could stop the run, and they didn't shut down the run. But they did slow Derrick Henry down. They did not let him break this game open. 25 carries, 94 yards, just under 4 yards per carry. He never really had that moment where he broke them. And that's what I think had happened. That happened in that playoff game with that third quarter touchdown that he had. I think it happened in the second matchup that they had last year where there were some really big runs that he had. And listen, the Ravens still ran for over 200 yards. It's not good. You don't want that. But they did it in a way that I think it was still within the controlled atmosphere that the Steelers were okay with in the game. Now, still, you don't want to let, Mitchell run for 55 yards. You don't want to let, Derrick Henry, get a 19-yard run. But I think they were like, hey, if we can contain this enough, we can force enough third downs where we can win. And they did in this game. They held the Ravens to just 7 of 18 third down conversions. Lamar Jackson did run for a touchdown and throw for a touchdown, but he also threw an interception, 19 of 35 for 219, a passer rating of 71 points there. I think the Steelers' defensive game plan in large part worked despite not having several key pieces for it. Derek Harmon was supposed to be a big answer for this game specifically, and that would put him in a position to win. Patrick Queen was out there, as he put, after the game on Twitter, playing on one leg, and he was, I thought, very sharp in this game. Alex Highsmith, even beyond the game-clinching sack where he sacked Lamar Jackson, that basically ran out the clock at the end of the game. Alex Highsmith, I thought, was instrumental in this win. He had 7 tackles. When I counted through all 7 of those tackles, only one of those tackles came on a play where the Ravens gained more than 2 yards. They were either tackles for losses, including the run stuff that he had on Derrick Henry in the red zone on 3rd and 2 that led to a 4th and 5 where Patrick Queen was in coverage for the stop on the Ravens that held them out the first of their 2 stops at the end of the second half that helped them win the game. I think that not enough can be said about those 2 guys, because they catch a lot of heat from a lot of fans because they're not, putting up superstar numbers and they're not making all the big plays all the time. Alex Highsmith dealing with injuries too, looked like he was hobbling on an ankle. This team fighting through adversity and finding ways to win. Chuck Clark having to be out there, Jabril Peppers having to be out there because Deshaun Elliott and Kyle Duggar were down in this game. Malik Harrison got injured in this game, putting Cole Holcomb out there. He ended up leading the team with 8 tackles. And then how about guys like Joey Porter Jr., who get tagged for what I thought were some ticky-tacky defensive pass interference calls. And listen, if you want to call defensive pass interference like that on that, fine. But Marlon Humphrey's doing the same stuff to DK Metcalf and was not getting called for it at all. And I just thought that was extremely one-sided. But for Joey Porter Jr. to stay locked in this game, and I don't have his coverage numbers in front of me, but for him to stay locked in and then break up that pass in the end zone to Isaiah Likely, and by the way, that was a breakup. Isaiah Likely did not hold on to possession and make a football move as you are supposed to, whether you're in the end zone or not. And for those who are trying to say it's the Jesse James play, Jesse James caught the ball, went down, leaped forward, and dove into the end zone. And then as he dove into the end zone, when he hit the ground, he let the ball go. That's not the same as Isaiah Likely caught the ball, held it out, and then dropped it when Joey Porter chopped his arm. That's just not the same. Sorry, don't try to make that something that it's not. But I thought that was a huge breakup and a huge fighting moment from him, and a sign of the fight from the entire team. Brandin Echols, I thought, had a really, really sharp game. Early in the game, he was targeted in the red zone, broke it up on a third down. Then he gets a sack on Lamar Jackson for another third down stop. And then there was another time he was targeted on third down. He didn't break it up, but he was so tight in coverage, it led to a forced incomplete pass. It's three third down stops on the day that you could contribute to Brandin Echols. I thought he was sharp. Joey Porter Jr. was sharp in the way that he battled towards the end. Alex Highsmith being there, Patrick Queen being there. And we could probably note some other guys when we look through the tape as well. I thought Y.A. Black, this might be his best game. I mean, he wasn't spectacular or anything, but he was bringing pressure on Lamar. He was helping close some things down. You could hear Cam Hayward say, "Yeah, Black, yeah." So, like, there was some – I think there was some really good stuff from him too. But you saw in this game, the Ravens had the punch you in the mouth moments in the second half. They got the stop on the field goal. They got the touchdown drive that cut it to 2016. And they had some big plays that punched the Steelers in the mouth. And what have we been saying in recent weeks? Like the Packers loss and the Bills loss, the Steelers hadn't responded well to getting punched in the mouth in the second half and needing to respond. And respond they did. After that touchdown drive that they allowed in the third quarter, they held the Ravens to a field goal on a 10-play drive, on another 9-play drive that holds them to another field goal. In those moments, then that gave the Steelers offense time to just get one more touchdown drive. They do that with the 38-yard touchdown pass to Jaylen Warren, which, wow, just a complete busted coverage on their part. But again, I think that the hitting of the deep ball kind of forced that into existence, because I don't think the Ravens were counting on that, and I think it forced them to have to communicate at a lot of different levels that they weren't prepared for. But again, the fight from the defense to be resilient and bounce back and find those answers, to me, that is huge for what this Steelers team needs to be down the stretch, regardless of who they play, whether they're playing, whether they play the Dolphins next week, the Lions after that, or the Browns after that, or the Ravens again in the season finale, or if they make the playoffs and need to win a game there, they need this type of fight. They need this type of resilience, and you saw it in this team. And I have to admit, there's the question. This is what I said, last week, the week before, when people were talking about, is this it? Is this team toast? Are they going to lose? They're about to lose out. Is this finally going to be the season where they have the losing season and Mike Tomlin's team finally falls off a cliff and has a bad year? And I said, maybe. But the thing that makes me think that it won't happen is because it hasn't happened. And each time, when I think back to 2013, when I think back to 2019, when I think back to 2022 and 2023, and the years where they could have fallen apart, they put their backs up against a wall and they found a way to find. They got answers whichever way they needed to, whether that was running the football, whether that was throwing the football, whether that was playing different styles of defense. I think that was truly a part of what the Steelers have often done under Mike Tomlin, is finding ways to win. And in this game, they found the way to win, as I mentioned at the top of the show, in the one way that they had not been winning for quite some time, and that's the deep passing game. And I'm not saying they're going to ride just the deep passing game, because they need to win with the short passing game, the intermediate passing game. The run game needs to come back. The run game is a problem right now, by the way. That is not good, and that's not going to help you win later in this season. But they need to shore up these other things. But when you can find different ways to win, that's the stuff that helps you win down the stretch. That's the stuff that helps you adapt to what other teams are trying to do to stop you. And that's the stuff that makes you not just a decent team, but a good team, and maybe even a very good team. And I don't think the Steelers are there at all yet, but I do think they are a good team right now. I think that that's why they're 7-6 and ahead of the first place of their division, and they are in the driver's seat. And I want to talk what that means next, because I think that there's some interesting stuff to look at here now that shapes up how the playoffs look the rest of the way. But for me, I look at this Steelers team right now, and I see that fight that you needed to see there, that I was honestly saying, hey, like all those other times we'd seen the Steelers make it happen like I was bringing up in all those other previous years. I was like, they're going to have to find it again now. They're going to have to do it soon. They got to do it soon. And here they did it. They brought it out. They had the big win. And they had the resiliency that you just hadn't seen in some of their losses. And you had seen some of their wins. I think you've seen the fight back. But if they can carry this energy moving forward, this is the kind of stuff that can help you win some of your harder games. This was a hard-fought game. I know the Ravens aren't, prime MVP Lamar Jackson level Ravens, but they're still the Ravens. Lamar Jackson clearly got his legs back under him in this game. They got healthy for this game. They got a lot of players. Derrick Henry was still Derrick Henry. They still had playmakers all over across the board, and this was in Baltimore, and they won 4 of their last 5. They were coming off 10 days rest. The Ravens had every reason to win this game, and the Steelers took it from them. And I think that shows the fight that they need to be a team that can push and win their first division title since 2020. That's how long it's been? Yeah, it's 2020. So it's there for them. But I want to talk about that path there because I think it's really interesting what's happened, not just for the AFC North, but for the rest of the playoffs. We'll talk about all that next here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter. Stick with us. We'll be right back. But first, I want to remind you this show is brought to you by Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994 with 48 teams for the first time ever. It's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app, and the layout makes it so simple to scroll through matchups, compare seat views, alert for teams and matches, make it easy to grab tickets the moment they drop instead of missing out. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms and conditions apply. Again, download the app, make an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Game Time. We're also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. The Steelers have already moved from plus, and the Steelers are already looking at a good situation this week, and we will be able to look at more odds and lines throughout the week going. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast. We're back here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. I'm your host, Chris Carter, continuing our episode here. Listen, I'm going to do more film breakdown on this game, and there's other people to talk about. I think the pass protection was really sharp. I think that other guys did some really good detailed things on offense. I think Pat Freiermuth blocked his butt off in this game when he got put in there for Darnell Washington. That guy needs some love, man. Give him some targets in this offense, man. He is working hard. But we'll get into all that with our Tuesday episode as we do our grades and we get the all-22 film to look at. But let's look at the AFC North situation right now. So if you're looking at the current state of things in the playoffs, I'm recording this before the Chiefs-Texans game, by the way. The Steelers right now sit in the driver's seat of the division. They are 7-6. And because the Bengals lost in a tough fashion to the Bills, they're now 4-9. So the Steelers are basically in a position where if the Bengals lose next week and the Steelers win next week, I think that locks the Steelers into being they'll be ahead of the Bengals will be out of the division race, and then they can't make the playoffs. But the Bengals play the Ravens, so whoever wins that game is better for the Steelers. And honestly, before it was kind of interesting because if the Bengals had beaten the Bills, they would have been 5-8, and they would have had their path to 9-8 kind of there because after the Ravens, I don't think they have really many good teams left. In fact, let me pull their schedule up real quick. Yeah, after the Ravens, they would have had the Dolphins, the Cardinals, and the Browns in Cincinnati. And so looking at that, if the Bengals had beaten the Bills and then beaten the Ravens, they could have pushed their way to 9-8. And if they tied with the Steelers at 9-8, I believe even if the Steelers, I was doing the calculating, if the Steelers had won both Ravens games and the Browns games, and they were both 9-8, the Bengals would have gotten in over them for some sort of tiebreakers. I was doing a playoff calculator, but now that they've lost that extra game, they won't be 9-8. They might be 8-9. But again, they still have to win out to do it. But now, and it was before, I was like, well, you might want the Ravens to beat the Bengals to knock them out of contention so that you can just beat the Ravens twice and handle your own business. But now you're at the point where you're like, you know what? Nah. You got 7 wins. They got 9 losses. You just need to win 2 games, and the Bengals are a non-threat anyways. And it can be any of the 2 out of 4 games down the stretch here. So now you kind of want the Bengals to beat the Ravens because then that'll give you 2 games. If you win, theoretically, if you win next week and the Ravens lose next week, you got 2 games ahead on the Ravens with already beating them once. And there would only be 3 games left in the season, and you get to play Cleveland. And yes, it's Cleveland in Cleveland, but man, Cam Ward just walked up in there and beat them 31-29. So I'm not exactly if the Titans are doing it, I'm thinking that the Browns mojo at home might be a bit over. And it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out moving forward. But we're not worried about the Browns. If we're looking at the Steelers situation, we're looking at the AFC North. And I've said all along, I think the AFC North is the Steelers' best chance to make the playoffs because there's such a thick race of so many different teams fighting with 8 and 7 wins to get the wild card spots. And so this was a big weekend because not only did the Steelers win, but the Bengals lost and the Browns lost. So they picked up a game on the entire division. And again, you get that edge on the Ravens. The Steelers could legitimately win the division now, I believe. No, not I believe. They can legitimately win the division by simply winning the Browns and the Ravens game. They could lose to the Dolphins and the Lions. And if they beat the Browns and the Ravens, they are locked into the playoffs. And because at that point they'd have 9 wins and the Ravens would have 8 losses because you have beaten them again. Even if the Ravens win every other game, the Bengals already have 9 losses. So they're at a point where do that and you're in. But even if the Steelers, let's say the Ravens get hot, they win 4 straight, the Steelers win 3 out of these last 4, and they lose to the Ravens in the regular season finale, and they both end up 10-7. Some things might have broke for the Steelers that might help them in the wild card race as well, because the Colts lost and didn't just lose. They lost Daniel Jones. And now the Colts are in a position where they might go into a free fall here because they do not have a good schedule the rest of the season. After starting off the season, what was it? 7-1 when the Steelers played them. They were 7-2 after the Steelers lost, 8-2 heading into their Week 11 bye week. They traded for Sauce Gardner. They have now lost to the Chiefs, the Texans, and the Jaguars in 3 straight games. They now have to go to Seattle, which is they're playing really well. They might be one of the best teams in football. Not might be, they are. Then they have to play the Niners, not an easy win. The Jaguars, who just beat up on them. And then they have to go to Houston to finish out the season to play the Texans. The Texans' defense has been pretty for real. The Colts could lose out this season and finish 8-9 or 9-8. And if the Steelers, in the scenario I gave you, if they go 10-7, they jump ahead of them, and then it becomes a factor because then the Colts are one of the 3 wild card teams. Right now, the playoff chart has the Bengals, or excuse me, the Broncos is the 1 seed at 11-2. Patriots are 11-2 as the 2 seed. The Jaguars are 9-4, 3 seed. Steelers are 7-6 at the 4 seed. Those are division winners. Your wild card teams are the Bills at 9-4, Chargers at 8-4, the Colts at 8-5. If the Colts lose out, you take them out of the equation there. That opens the door for one other team to sneak up in there. So here's the teams that are in the hunt right now for that wild card team. I'm excluding the Bengals at 4-9. You've got the 7-5 Texans who play the Chiefs tonight, who are 6-6. Whoever wins that game is going to be in a really good position to fight for that spot as well. Then you got the Ravens at 6-7. You got the Dolphins at 6-7. Both who the Steelers play down the stretch. The Steelers could be in a position where they have a decent shot at getting both either the division or the conference game. Now, still, you want to win the division because you want to finally host a playoff game where people can actually attend, because the last time that they had a playoff game, no one was there because of the COVID year. And you want to be able to have that playoff game and have it against a team that you could compete against. And granted, right now, that'll be the Buffalo Bills who just put a whooping on the Steelers. So maybe you can get your lick back. But bottom line, you'd rather have to do that than to go on the road to someone's house to open up the way that you have in each of your last 3 playoff losses to the Ravens last year, the Bills the before that, and the Chiefs before that. And you don't want to have to do that. Granted, they've beaten Drake May already in his house, so in New England. And maybe they could, Bo Nix doesn't scare you himself, but that Denver's defense might. But still, you'd rather have it in your place where you could play there and get a team coming on the road against you. I think that the Steelers are in the driver's seat to make that happen. And even if the Ravens get hot down the stretch here and win out, and the Steelers end up tied with them and lose out on a tiebreaker, though I kind of like their tiebreakers right now because the Steelers are 6-3 in the conference right now. The Ravens are 4-5. The Steelers are also 3-1 in the division. The Ravens are 2-2. But granted, if the Ravens win out, they'd be 4-2. The Steelers would be 4-2. So we'd have to see how tiebreakers happen down that stretch. But the point being, the Steelers with this win put themselves in a really good spot for the playoffs, whether that's wild card chase or divisional race. They're in the driver's seat, they're in control, and this was a vital win to do it. It's why I was saying this week, I know some people are out there saying, "Oh, it's better if they lose because I just want them to blow it up." They're not losing because they got a chance to win a division, and they got a chance to go forward and get themselves in the playoffs, and they're not going to give up on that vision, and neither should. And in my opinion, real fans don't wish for that kind of stuff. If you're doing that stuff, I think you're kind of a loser. Not kind of, I think you are. And I think that it's understand you want change, you want different things, but you don't root for your team to lose. And I think this team right now, they're fighting and they're finding their fight. And I think that they're finding their fight in a good way. And if they can pull the resilience and the fight and the effort from this game and apply it to these next few games, they're going to put themselves in a position to win this division, host a playoff game, and then a place to put that fight and that 8-year playoff drought up against an opponent coming to town. And that's where you want to be if you're a Steelers fan. We have a lot more to break down on the Steelers win here on the Locked On Steelers podcast. We'll do that tomorrow with our grades. We'll hope to have Alan Saunders on from SteelersNow.com. Thanks again for tuning into the Locked On Steelers podcast. A reminder, you can check out me on social media at Carter Critiques. Read my work. You can Carter Critiques in all your podcast, all your social media apps, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky. I'm everywhere at Carter Critiques. Read my work in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, including my Carter's Critiques analysis of the game, where I broke down how the Steelers hit the Ravens where they weren't looking. That's and also the play of Alex Highsmith and Patrick Queen. That's at post-gazette.com. Subscribe there to read all of our work there. And then also you can catch me here, of course, on the Locked On Steelers podcast every day, Monday through Friday, breaking down your Pittsburgh Steelers on your favorite podcasting apps and on YouTube. Like this video if you enjoy it. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to get all of those daily Monday through Friday episodes. Back here tomorrow with our grades, stars, and skulls here on the Locked On Steelers podcast.